This is going to be the process proposal. And I want to suggest something to them. I want to propose something. And there's any number of ways to phrase this, but I think it's important that you actually do it. Right? And so, Adam, I'm going to keep you on for just one more second, because we'll do this with you. You got to propose something. But I think one of the keys to this is don't overpromise. We have the cure for cancer, but I don't want to like jump up and down and sell it that way because people are suspicious of that. Right? So don't overpromise. There's no need to do that. What we do is incredible enough, I think. But if you can just state it and state it in a way that is authentic, that'll be enough. Right? And so one of the ways to make sure you do that, I find, is that you can start the proposal with a phrase like this. Right? I hear Bo Call will do this all the time. I think he's like a master of it right on the phone. I don't know if we'll be able to do this for you, but. Why doesn't he know? He hasn't seen the data, right? So it has a kind of multi-pronged effect here, right? We don't overpromise. We sound like we're reasonable human beings. And we are implying that the only way we're going to answer this question, the only way we will know whether we can do this or not, is if we see the data. So I don't know if we'll be able to do this for you, but what I'd love to show you, if we can sit down again for a planning conversation, would be several strategies that you and Mel might use to try to achieve the things on your wish list, right? To save enough money in the right places to buy that bigger house, while also being on track for college funding for Olivia and for Emily, while just saving more in general so that soon you will be able to see retirement on the horizon, while we also have a plan at least in place, kind of in the background, that's going to address any of those risks, those threats that we hope don't happen but could happen. So that's really what we do through the course of our planning process. And that's what I would love the opportunity to show to you. All right, so Adam, having gone through all that so far today and just kind of outlining what I do and how I help people, what questions can I answer for you about what I do? And how do you feel about everything you've heard so far?
It sounds good, Neil. Yeah, I'd be interested to learn more about how you do it.
Okay, beautiful. So let me tell you what the next step would be towards that exact goal. And the next step would be this: data. Right? We need to get data. Now I don't have it up in front of me, so shame on me for not being prepared. But I think in my mind, and I show in paper, this planning process cycle here, the steps in the process, not the meetings, the steps, right? Open, data, protection, strategy, implementation or tactical. So Adam, the next step in the process would be to get you organized, to collect some data so that we can start to see this picture of what your financial world looks like today come into focus. Once that's done, once we have clarity around data, we're going to have two distinct planning conversations that will happen separately. They may happen in the same meeting, maybe in different meetings. It really depends on how complicated things appear. Typically, they're separate meetings. But the first conversation is going to be around risk management and just making sure that you're as well positioned as you can be to deal with the unexpected things that could go wrong today before we worry about what we want to have happen tomorrow, which is conversation number 2 around strategy. And this is where we're really going to help you come up with a plan to focus your resources to get what you want to get. Think wish list versus the dangerous threats. So here's what we need from a data standpoint. And at this point, Adam, thank you for being our role play participant today, by the way. We're gonna move on.
All right.
You can go get a coffee or something now. Take 5. You were wonderful. You know, we might have gotten an objection from Adam, or he might have had some questions that were just legitimate questions that need to be answered. But either way, we are going to continue the discussion. I'm going to work back around to this question of what do you think? How do you feel? Right? So that we're going to ask at least for the opportunity to collect some data and to put something together for them. Other ways, other things that we can propose, you know, for someone who's more distribution oriented, I find that instead of just dwelling so much on repeating back the wish list or rephrasing the wish list, which I think is a great strategy to use, by the way, I would encourage you to do it. Summarize that wish list. use those details wherever our wish list actually went. For a distribution-oriented client, I find that it is helpful to talk about the fact that, what I would propose, what I don't know if we can do, what we will often help people do, I don't know if we can do it for you, but show you some different strategies for how to create streams of income in retirement that you can reliably live off of, regardless of how long you live, regardless of what the market or interest rates do, regardless of whether you get sick along the way. And that's the type of value that we really add when it comes to distribution, but we really won't know what that looks like until we dive in and see kind of where you are at this moment in time. But that's what I would love to do in the next meeting. How does that sound, and what questions can I answer about that? Right? So it's the same proposal, we're just appealing to a different heartstring maybe. For the younger person, that maybe had the 25-year-old's wish list looks different than the 45-year-old's, but I want to work with a good, motivated 25-year-old. I find that someone on the very young end of the spectrum is really motivated by this idea of financial fitness. Right? Like they want to be efficient, they want to do everything right. They recognize that they're at the beginning of this long journey. I want to show you a game plan for how to get financially fit so that you make the absolute most out of every dollar that you earn now, and you set yourself up for great habits throughout the rest of your life so you can achieve everything you want to be able to achieve financially. That's what I help people do. Right? I'm like a personal trainer. Whatever it is, appeal to what you think is going to be most motivating to them. That's your job, right? Like you're not going to help them if they don't move forward. So you've got to make that path easy for them. When it comes to actually, setting the data up, there's a couple ways to do this. My desire, my preference always is to do what I call quick facts plus needed documents. And just a hybrid approach here. I just find this is the least invasive. It's the easiest to move forward with. What I'm going to do is basically say, look, in this open meeting, if we've got a little bit of time, then I want to go down this road. If we don't have time, then I'm going to set up a meeting in which, like in this meeting, I say meeting, it may only be 15 minutes long, but I'm going to actually get face-to-face with this person again, and I'm going to collect their documents. So I'm giving them a hard deadline. The goal is to collect some data. Because if you collect one piece of data, you're going to get two. And if you get two, you're going to get four, and so on. So the goal is to try to break the seal on data here in this open meeting. It's a really, really important, critical thing that has to happen, rather than just always setting the data meeting. Right? If there's time, I'm going to try to collect some data. So if we've got 10 minutes, what I would love to do is make this as easy as possible on you so that we can prep ourselves for the next conversation. Here's what I'd love to do. I'm going to ask you some questions. I would imagine that you're going to be able to give us 90% of the information we need because you know it better than anybody. And there may be a few areas where you won't exactly have the detail, and we'll need to follow up and grab maybe a document that you can pull offline from one of your institutions that will give us the detail that we need. Does that sound okay? Again, we're checking the temperature. Does that sound all right? This is the hardest part of the process, so let's make sure it goes right.